Sydney Powell, 23, hit her mother, Brenda Powell, 50, with an iron skillet in 2020 before stabbing her nearly 30 times in the neck. Sydney Powell had been suspended by the University of Mount Union for poor grades, and school officials were on the phone with Brenda Powell when the fatal attack occurred. The officials called police when they heard screaming on the other end of the line. The phone cut off at some point after, I would say, somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 or 7 of those thudding, those sort of thud sounds, and the screaming had continued. Associate Dean of Students Michelle Gaffney testified. After repeatedly calling back, a voice eventually answered, claiming to be Brenda Powell, but the university officials weren't convinced. The voice on the other end said, "Yes, this is Brenda, yes, this is Brenda," Gaffney recalled. It was not Brenda. I was sure it was Sydney. Both Dean of Students John Fraser and I looked at each other and sort of shook our heads at each other and said, "That's not Brenda." He then said, "Sydney, I think this is you, this is not Brenda." The phone went dead. Police who arrived at the scene found Sydney Powell in the driveway of her family home with her eyes rolled back and clawing at the asphalt. Sydney Powell's attorney described her as in a catatonic state, not responding to audio stimuli. While Sydney Powell maintains she remembers only flashes of the day she took her mother's life and was hearing voices and having delusions at the time of the murder, a jury in September found her guilty despite her insanity plea. She was also found guilty of assault and tampering with evidence. Sydney Powell will be eligible for parole after serving 15 years of her sentence and, if released, will serve at least 2 years of supervised release.